Yes, welcome back all of you. So in the previous lecture we have seen the generation techniques of the conventional amplitude modulated signal or your DSB-SCC modulated signal. Let us practice few questions till based on the topics that we've covered till now. So I'll go with the first question that's based on the very recent topic, that is square law modulator. The question is that for the following square law modulator, we are given with a square law modulator. The square law device is characterized by V2 is equal to V1 plus 0.1 V1 square. So this is the characteristic of the square law device that is being used in the square law modulator. And we are also given that the passband of the band pass filter is 800 to 1200 Hertz. This is the given passband. And further, the question is to find all the parameters of resulting AM signal. By all the parameters, we mean all the possible important attributes like modulation index, transmitted power, power efficiency, and so on. Okay, and we are given with the block diagram of the square law modulator. We have a summer 2 cos 200 pi t. This is the input message signal, and we have a carrier signal as the other input, which is 20 cos 2000 pi t, and the resultant V1 is given as input to square law device. Further, V2 is given as input to band pass filter, and then resultant is modulated signal. So this is the given block diagram, and we are given that the passband is 800 to 1200 Hertz, and the characteristic of this square law device is this, right? Now let us attempt the question. So V1 is, we know, summation of this and this component. So firstly we can write down the V1, that is 2 cos 200 pi t plus 20 cos 2000 pi t. So we can easily find out V1, which is this, right? V2 is given as V1 plus 0.1 times of V1 square. So substitute the values and we can find out V2 also from here. V2 is equal to 2 cos 200 pi t plus 20 cos 2000 pi t, okay, plus 0.1 times of square of this term V1. So it becomes 4 cos square 200 pi t plus 400 cos square 2000 pi t plus 80 cos of 200 pi t into cos of 2000 pi t. Alright, now we pass this signal V2 through a band pass filter. We pass it through a band pass filter with passband of 800 to 1200 Hertz. Alright, now let us carefully analyze term by term which of these following terms in the V2 will be eliminated and which will be passed. Alright, so starting with this term, first term, that is 2 cos 200 pi t. So the present frequency component in terms of Hertz would be 100 Hertz, because in terms of angular frequency it is 200 pi. So in terms of Hertz it will be 100 Hertz, right? 200 pi divided by 2 pi, right? So 200 Hertz will not pass through this band pass filter because the passband is between 800 to 1200 Hertz. So this will be eliminated for sure. Now second term is this 20 cos 2000 pi t. So the available frequency component in this will be 2000 pi divided by 2 pi. So that results into 1000 Hertz. right? And if we look at the pass band, 1000 hertz will pass through it, this band pass filter, so this term will pass, right? Moving on to the third term, which is this cos square 200 pi t, it's cos square, right? So the resulting frequency component will be your 400 pi, and which is equivalent to 200 hertz, right? So obviously this won't pass through this pass band, so this will be eliminated. Next is this cos square 2000 pi t, so available frequency is your 4000 pi, and which is equivalent to 2000 hertz, right? And this will also not pass through this pass band, so this will also be eliminated. Moving on to the next term, which is this, it is multiplication of two different frequency components, which are 200 pi and 2000 pi, right? So 200 pi and 2000 pi, the frequency component present would be 2200 pi, right? 2200 pi, which is equivalent to 1100 hertz. So now if you look at the pass band, it is from 800 to 1200 hertz. So 1100 hertz fits well into this, and this will also pass, right? So clearly only two terms will pass through the pass band, which is this term and this multiplicative term, right? So now let's write down the final value expression of V2, that is 20 cos 2000 pi t plus 80 cos 200 pi t into cos of 2000 pi t. There's a slight mistake that we have done over here. We have neglected this 0.1 factor, so this will be multiplied by 0.1, and this will be, instead of 80, it will be only 8, right? Fine. So this is our resultant amplitude modulated signal. All right, now let us try to compare it with the standard expression of amplitude modulation, conventional amplitude modulation. So we can just do some simple manipulation. We take this 20 common, so we get 1 plus 0.4 times cos of 200 pi t and cos of 2000 pi t, because this is again a common entity, cos 2000 pi t. So this is our resultant amplitude modulated signal for the given system, right? And if you look at the standard expression of amplitude modulated signal, x of AMT, that we have already seen several times, it is AC into 1 plus mu times cos 2 pi fmt or omega mt into cos of 2 pi fc into t or omega ct, right? So this is the standard expression of amplitude modulated signal, conventional amplitude modulated signal, and this is the expression that we have obtained. So we can easily compare these two expressions to find out the important attributes of the system, isn't it? So from this expression we can say that AC, value of the amplitude of the carrier is what? AC, we have already seen it is 20, and it is given to us also. We can clearly see from here the AC amplitude is 20, right? Fine. Modulation index comes out to be 0.4. All right. F of M comes out to be 100. F of C comes out to be 1000 hertz. These are in hertz. Now, since we have these critical information with us, we can easily find out the other things like your power efficiency, transmitted power, and we can easily plot the spectrum of this modulated signal as well, right? And you can verify these things. These were already available to you through the block diagram. You can verify these important attributes from this equation as well as from the given block diagram. We know the carrier signal, we know the message signal, so everything is known to us. So these can be cross verified also. So this is the amplitude modulated signal using the system model, using the method of square law device modulator, right? Okay, next we'll have a look at a very simple and a very derivative kind of a concept, that is current relation in AM. Current relation in AM. We already know the transmitted power relationship, that is PT is equal to PC into 1 plus mu T square by 2. T I have used because it is the total modulation index I am using. If in case of multi-tone modulations, it can be different, right? So this is the power relationship that we have already seen and derived, right? So if we want to find out the similar kind of a relationship in terms of current, we can do that. This power is nothing but I square R. This is the relationship between power and the current. So making use of this relationship, we can find out the relationship between transmitted power and the carrier power and the modulation index, right? So this IT square R is equal to IC square R 1 plus mu T square by 2. R gets cancelled out, so IT is nothing but equal to IC into 1 plus mu square by 2. This is the current relationship between the transmitted current and the carrier current and the modulation index. Similarly, we can have the relationship in terms of voltage, that is VT is equal to VC into square root of 1 plus mu square by 2. Alright, based on these, let's attempt few questions. The question is, an unmodulated AM transmitter current is given by 5 amperes. Find AM transmitter current with 50% of modulation. Okay, so in the question we are given that an unmodulated AM transmitter current is given, that is 5 ampere. So we need to understand this term unmodulated AM transmitter current. This unmodulated means there is no modulation, right? If there is no modulation, in that case the total current is nothing but the carrier current. Since carrier is not modulated, the modulation index is 0. So when modulation index mu is equal to 0, there is no modulation, means modulation index is 0. That means IT equal to IC into square root of 1 plus mu square by 2. If we go by this relationship, mu is 0, then IT is equal to IC, right? So this current 5 ampere given to us is nothing but the carrier current. This unmodulated means mu is equal to 0. Mu is equal to 0 means IT is equal to IC. So the given current is nothing but the carrier current. As simple as that. Okay. So IC is given in the question, that is 5 amperes. And that will remain constant because carrier signal is constant. So current required to transmit that carrier signal will also be constant. Now we need to find out the AM transmitter current when the modulation percentage is 50%. So now the modulation index given to us is 50% or 0.5, and we need to find out the transmitter current, and that is I of t, which is nothing but IC into square root of 1 plus mu square by 2. We are aware with this IC, that is 5 ampere. Mu is also given to us, so we can substitute the values. 5 into square root of 1 plus 0.5 square by 2. If you simplify it, we get the resultant as 5.32 amperes. So this is the transmitter current required after we perform the modulation, and modulation by 50%, right? So the current gets increased, right? The required current is increased. Obviously we are transmitting some extra components as well, so more current would be required here. Moving on, next question. Question is, an AM transmitter current is given by 10 ampere with 40% of modulation and find the AM transmitter current with 80% of modulation. Okay, so we are given with the AM transmitter current when the modulation is 40%, and we need to find out the AM transmitter current when the modulation is 80%. Okay, so we are given with I of t transmitter current, that is 10 ampere for the modulation index 0.4. So with this information we can easily find out the carrier current IC, right? Because IT is equal to IC into square root 1 plus mu square by 2. We have this relationship, right? So IT is 10 equal to IC into 1 plus 0.4 square by 2. Thus IC comes out to be 9.6 ampere from here, and IC will remain same because the carrier remains constant, so the current required to transmit that will also remain same. Now comes the second case where the modulation index is 0.8 now. Alright, and we need to find out I of t. IC we have already derived, so with the help of the given and the derived information we can find out IT, which is IC into square root of 1 plus mu square by 2. So IC is 9.6 into square root of 1 plus 0.8 square by 2, and it comes out to be 11.05 ampere. This is I of t. Moving on to the next question, it's a very interesting question. We are given with an unmodulated AM transmitter power is given by 10 kilowatt when the carrier is modulated by single sinusoidal message signal. Transmitter power becomes 13.5 kilowatts, and we need to find the AM transmitter. Find AM transmitter power if the carrier is simultaneously modulated by second message signal with 60% of modulation. So here it includes the concept of multi-tone modulation as well. So let us carefully read the question once. An unmodulated AM transmitter power is given by this. Unmodulated AM transmitter power means when the modulation index is 0, in that case PT is equal to PC, which is equal to 10 kilowatts. So PC is given to us, that is 10 kilowatts. Now when the carrier is modulated by single sinusoidal message signal, the transmitter power becomes this. Okay, now it is said that when the carrier is modulated by a single sinusoidal message signal, okay, the transmitter power becomes 13.5. So when let's say modulation index is mu1, okay, for a message signal 1, M1T, let's say M1T modulates the carrier signal and the corresponding modulation index is mu1, the transmitter power PT becomes 13.5 kilowatts. This is the given information. So we already know the PC. So using this information, let us try to find out what this modulation index, right? So PT, we know it is equal to PC into 1 plus mu square by 2, right? This is the relationship. PT is 13.5, PC is 10 into 1 plus mu1. So it will be mu1 square by 2. The mu1 is the modulation index due to the first message signal, right? Now we have this equation and there's only one unknown, that is mu1. If you simplify this equation, we get mu1 as equivalent to mu1 square is equivalent to 0.7. Alright. Now the next part of the question is find the AM transmitter power if the carrier is simultaneously modulated by a second message signal with 60% modulation. Now the question says that this M1T was already present. Now a second message signal is also present, whose due to which the modulation index mu2 is your 60%, right? It is 0.6. Now the modulation takes place due to the two message signal M1T and M2T. So these two, M1T and M2T, simultaneously modulate the carrier signal. It's a multi-tone kind of a system now. Okay, so in this multi-tone kind of a system, what will be the transmitted power? PT, right? So basically there are two different message signal which are modulating the carrier, and there will be two different modulation indexes due to the two different message signals. So mu1 we already know, mu1 square is 0.7, mu2 is given to us 0.6. We can find out the total modulation index. We have already seen the concept of multi-tone modulation. In one of the previous lectures we have seen the concept of multi-tone modulation. So this mu-t is equivalent to square root of mu1 square plus mu2 square. Okay, so it is mu1 square, we already know it is 0.7, mu2 square will be 0.6 square. Therefore this mu-t, if we add this 0.7 plus 0.36, so it is approximately equal to 1. Yes, so this is the modulation index, but we need to find out this PT, right? So PT, the transmitted power will be PC into 1 plus mu-t square by 2. PC we know it is 10 kilowatts into 1 plus 1 by 2, 1 square by 2, and this is equivalent to 15 kilowatts. This is your final answer. Alright, so in this lecture we have seen different types of numerical problems based on the topics that we've covered till now, and we'll continue this in the next lecture, and we'll continue with this conventional type of amplitude modulation or DSBC type of modulation, and we'll look at the methods to demodulate the signal now, demodulate these kind of signals. Okay, that thing will cover in the next video lecture. And you may also practice some other questions that you find in the books that are suggested in the CIF. Okay, so that is all for this lecture. Thank you.